What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is David Hanlon, aka the Laptop Legend, and today felt like the first somewhat exciting day we've had in OTCs in a couple of weeks. Honestly, it was pretty good today, so I just want to make this video to show you guys how I was able to make over $6,000 today trading these stocks. Pretty exciting, and I got a lot of good stuff for you. Now, this is a companion video that I'm making to raw, unedited 6.5 hours of screen recording. So the entire day, you can't see all my screens because I got way too many screens to record all at once, but I recorded like the most important part of my main screen, and I did that for 6.5 hours, and I'm uploading this, the raw footage, so you guys can see it. So definitely, when you get a chance, make sure to review in depth that video because it'll show you the live price action, the level 2 as it panned out, and this is really gonna be amazing practice for you guys so that you can go back and time these better in the future, because if you messed up this one, there's always gonna be another one, and these opportunities are absolutely insane. I made like $6,000 today, a little bit more, but I left like $25,000 on the table. That is what is insane. So there's so much room to improve. I know I personally will be going back and reviewing this level 2 footage, so hopefully it's useful to you guys as well. But I'm making this video to kind of talk about what happened today, and then I guess go over some very key parts of the level 2 footage just so you guys can see, and I can explain my thought processes, and you guys can kind of understand where I'm coming from, so that when you're watching the 6.5 hour video with no commentary, you can understand a little bit better about what I am doing and what you're seeing on the recording. So to get started, there was 3 main plays for me today. Number 1 is AABB. Here's the daily chart for that. Number 2 is TGGI. Here's the daily chart for that. Some crazy wicks out there today, man. And then number 3 is TSOI. So I'm gonna start with AABB, and I'm gonna go to the intraday just so you guys can see. Let me go 5-day actually. 5-day, 1 minute, just so you can get a little better idea. So this thing ran up pretty big in anticipation of the launch of its platform. I forget if it was for crypto, something like that. I think it was crypto. And that was gonna be happening today on December 28th. And you can see this thing had a beautiful breakout, a very nice ascending triangle. It gets tighter and tighter, breaks out here. I wimped out. I just scalped this thing. I didn't hold size. In the future, I will be taking this with size every time, man. I bought here at 2615. And I cut at 2613 because I got spooked. Never letting that happen again. Beautiful opportunity wasted there. Could have made at least 10 grand on that breakout without even taking huge size. But then, after that, it started selling the news. And that was very anticipated. I would have been short this thing, except I'm still between shorting brokerages, so I didn't have one where I could short this thing, unfortunately, because it ended up going on the most insane panic you've ever seen. And I mean, even yesterday it had 3 panics, which is wild. But today it had an even bigger panic, which is even wilder. So today, that panic is what I was playing. And I mean, you can see this thing literally dumps from 23.5, tries to put in a bounce at 17.5, 6 cents below, pretty much fails, and then goes as low as 14 cents. So from pretty much 24 to 14, it loses like 10 cents a share. Again, if I could have shorted, man, if I still had my Schwab, I would have made probably at least 10,000 on this short, if not more. I could have shorted like 180,000 shares. I mean, theoretically, if I played it perfectly, I could have made $18,000 on this, which is just crazy, absolutely crazy, man. I know I wouldn't play it perfectly, but it would have been epic for sure. But basically, when I see a huge panic like this, if the chart looks like this, man, to me, this is like a huge opportunity, because I know that anything that sells off this hard, that there's a lot of people excited about, is usually going to bounce back and see a pretty nice recovery. It may not bounce back where I think it is, but if you can manage your risk when you're buying these things, you typically can get pretty good risk reward if you're buying right as it's turning and you're watching the level 2. If the level 2 fails or it looks weak, you can always cut and then retry later. So I do have a recording of myself doing that, and I guess I'll get into that. Yeah, I might as well get into that first, just so you guys can see. So this is like kind of towards the beginning here. The news just came out that they did their, they did the press release today, basically, that they finally released their crypto platform. You can see, I ended up buying 2,500 shares. I'm actually down on the day because my dumbass, I'm not allowed to say that. Nah, whatever, it's YouTube. I decided, I was gonna short SOPA out of the open. I don't know why, lost 260 doing that. But yeah, you can see, I mean, not really much going on here on the day. I'm not up too much. I'm not down too much. Just kind of weird, you know. I'm just waiting. But, you know, the news came out. It did initially spike. So it did spike off that news initially, but then it ends up dumping. Now, this is at 3x speed, just so it's a little bit faster for you guys. I did want to make it a little bit faster. So again, my 6.5 hours of raw footage is going to be normal speed, just so you can see what it looks like, normal speed, and see how I managed everything. But this is what we got going on here. I think I'm going to skip, just so you guys can see what happens when it starts actually panicking. So this thing panics, goes into the world's most ridiculous panic. And again, you know, sometimes you could be faked out here. Like, this looks like a good opportunity, man. You can see it looks like it wants to bounce here. I'm getting ready, considering buying, but at this point I missed it, so I end up having to cancel. I didn't get filled any shares. You can see I got no shares there. But luckily, I didn't get filled because it ends up getting stuffed super hard. You can see tons of purple prints. I know this thing is breaking down. Now, obviously, real time, you got a little more time to react because this is 3x speed. But this level 2 is, I mean, just very weak at this point. And the main thing I want to talk about here is like my position sizing and how I manage that. Because it can be a very scary thing if you try to catch a falling knife and it just keeps dropping lower than you initially expected. It can be a very scary thing. You see I'm long 50,000 there, but I immediately cut it. I'll go back one more time so you can see. So did I go back? I think I forgot to go back. Oh well. I was long 50,000 there, but I immediately cut it. Again, you can go watch this in the main thing. In the main one. All right, yeah, there I go. Yeah, so I long 50,000 there because it looks like it's bouncing on the level 2. But as soon as it stays weak, man, it can't break out. We see those purple prints. I end up getting spooked. So I was trying to be patient on this because I wasn't sure how high I could bounce. But unfortunately, this one is one where I end up getting stuck. Now I have 100,000 shares because, I mean, it looks decent. But you can see Knight there is selling a ton of shares. I've got 150,000. The bids look decent, but Knight is just selling so many shares. So it does bounce a little bit. I mean, you can see I was up 700 there for a little bit. I'm trying to be patient, man. I mean, if this is actually the bounce, this thing could easily bounce to 20, so I'm trying not to sell it all. I did sell a little bit there, thank goodness. I still got 100,000 from basically 17.99. Ends up failing. And you can see I get caught in this washout a little bit, guys. I get caught in this washout. So again, I'm trying to be patient here. I'm trying to give it time because I have a lot of issues scalping stuff, but gets to the point where I just decide I need to cut it. And unfortunately, I think I take too long there. By the time I actually go to sell, it's too late, and I don't think I fill any yet. So you can see I'm stuck with 100,000 shares, man. This thing is dumping. I'm stuck with 100,000 from 17.99. I'm down almost 1,000 unrealized on this position. Just dumped under 17 there. I did manage to cut 25K at 17. Maybe like 17.2 or something like that. But you can see, man, I gave back most of my realized profits. I'm looking at an ugly unrealized loss here, guys. It's looking ugly. Looking very, very ugly. Now they're trying to hold 17. And again, the volume here is ridiculous, man. Huge, huge volume. Let me slow down the playback just a little bit. I feel like 3x is a little too fast. 2x is probably a little better. So I ended up adding there because I thought it could bounce more. It looked like it was bottoming one more time. Ended up not, so I just cut it all. I cut all of it. You can see I realized a $740 loss after being up, what, like 400 bucks on this ticker or something? So that's over $1,000 swing right there, which is crazy because I wasn't even taking like big size for me. And again, I'm just managing my risk. I'm watching the level 2. You see that stacking action on the bid. So I rebuy some shares there. Bids end up stacking. It ends up moving up. I got 120,000 again. Is that the actual bounce? You know, I'm trying to be patient for the actual bounce. I could sell here and lock in, 300 bucks. But I'm trying to be patient in case that's the actual bounce. In case this bounces up to, 20 from there or something. Or even a 19. But what stinks is when you do that, you're risking trying to sell when everyone else is trying to sell because it's making a new low a day, and it's pretty much impossible to fill in the panic. You can see I'm trying to sell 15.8 here, limit 15.8. I do manage to get out of these shares, thankfully, because it ends up going even lower. Luckily, I didn't take too much of a loss on that because I ended up selling early enough. So I think I was about break even on that trade. And again, you know, I bought in, but it didn't end up bouncing, so I cut it all. You know, I'm not averaging down, assuming that it has to be the bottom anyway. I know these things can go lower than you think, always. It always can go lower than you think, and you never want to blow up your account on one trade for one stupid stock. So I just bought again there. But I realized I may be a little too early. Now it's stalling out, and it ends up bouncing again. So now I got 200,000 shares. I'm like, all right, that's more likely to be the bottom. And again, you can go watch that level 2, you know, how it ends up stalling there and then the bids start stacking. That's why I end up buying there. And again, look, I mean, I'm up 945 unrealized here. And it's barely even started bouncing. So, I mean, I've already more than made up for that loss, assuming that this thing actually bounces. I just saw 1,500 there for a second. But, again, it still is unable to break out. It's still getting stuffed. And again, go watch this price action live in that recording that I'm gonna upload. And just like that, it makes a new low. And I'm trying to sell as much as I can here. I'm trying to get out. I'm panic selling, trying to get out at 15. I didn't fill a damn share, man. I didn't fill a thing. I'm still long 200,000. And now this thing's getting really ugly. And at this point, you know, I'm down over 2,000 unrealized, 2,400 unrealized. And again, you know, look at this, guys. I'm down 770 realized. I'm down 2,500 unrealized. This is a scary situation to be in. And this is after having, you know, cut my losses up here. Can you imagine if I just averaged down and averaged down? Oh my goodness, man. I would have blown up this account. This is why you got to be careful. Now, the main thing to keep in mind is that you got to keep your head clear in situations like this. So luckily, I'm at the point where, you know, I'm fine losing $3,000, $4,000 on a trade if I think it's good enough. You know, for me, this is worth the risk of taking this trade because when it ends up bouncing, I'm confident that I can make back these losses and more. So that's why I take these types of trades. But it is very risky, and if you're not good at it, you should not take big size. You know, until you get better and you have more practice, and that's what these videos are for, so you guys can practice. But you can see, you know, the bid ends up stacking there at 14, and I'm like, all right, I'm loading up. Now I got 400,000 shares. I'm long 400,000 from 1463. And again, I don't know if I can go back and replay that, just so you guys can see one more time. So it's dumping. It looks like 14 is gonna break. There was only one bidder there for a while, but this bidder ends up stepping up. So I'm like, all right, I'm buying as much as I can. I need to average down so I can get out. I got 400,000 right as it starts bouncing. And it happens quickly, guys. It really does happen quickly. You know, this ends up bouncing quickly. Now I'm up, you know, 1,400 unrealized on a position I was just down 2,000 on. It's crazy how quickly it can turn around. But again, at this point, I'm thinking, all right, what if this fails here and washes out below 14? Am I going to get absolutely screwed? What's going to happen? And I tried to sell some there, I think, but I ended up not getting filled. I think I only got filled 10,000. Yeah, you can see I only filled like 10,000 shares, and suddenly it's right back down at 14. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm about to take a huge loss. Because, you know, 200,000 shares, that's not too bad. But 400,000 shares, for washouts, I'm losing $4,000 every penny this dumps. I mean, this dumps to 12, I just lost, you know, almost 10 grand on this ticker. Luckily, it ends up double bottoming, so I cancel my sell orders, and you know, we end up getting the bounce from there. Now, that's actually fairly common. You know, you get a big flush, a big washout. It tries to bounce, it fails, but that support, it basically double bottoms. You know, it confirms that support level right at that whole number, and you know, now I'm up 2,000 something unrealized, still got 390,000 shares at this point. You know, you can see here. So this unrealized gain more than makes up for this realized loss. And at this point, I'm pretty convinced we're gonna get at least some type of a bounce. You know, these bids, they're still looking strong. Now, there is still a lot of selling, man. It's still heavy pressure, so you gotta be careful. But I'm locking some in here just to be extra safe. Just to be extra safe. You can see I locked some more in. I've locked half my position in. I got 190,000 shares left. And that takes me back from negative 700 to up 615. Hell yeah. That's how you turn it around, man. And once again, guys, feel free to go back and watch this price action live. I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million more. There's nothing quite like watching this in real time, tick for tick, and seeing how you would be feeling in my position. How you would be reacting to these trades. So I'm trying to lock in some more here just in case it fails. I see there's a big 700K bidder almost at 1549. I'm thinking, all right, I need to sell some on him just in case, worst case scenario. So I lock in some more as it's going. Now I got just 100,000 shares left from 1463, up more than a penny a share on those. Sold some more, down to 57,000. It looks like it's trying to fail at 16. I'm like, man, I'm not gonna let this thing break under 14 and I still have shares. So I'm trying to be patient with the last 50K, but I end up selling the rest and then rebuying on a dip. You can see I sell, end up rebuying. I actually perfectly timed the bottom of this dip here. You can see I nail that thing. Buy 57K, got the instant fill, 1457. 50K at 1457. And it was nice. It ripped back up, made another couple $100, $300-400 on that. Unfortunately, I was not super patient on this, man. I really wasn't. This thing ends up bouncing by the end of the day over 20. And I mean, look how much I made piking this, man. I mean, I had 400,000 from 1463. I could have made 20,000 on that trade. It bounced like 5 cents a share. Crazy, absolutely crazy, guys. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that AABB trade. I wanted to walk you through a little bit about what happened there, how I was cutting those losses and then getting in more. And as it got lower and lower, and I was more, it's basically, it's like a rubber band, guys. The lower it dips in a very short amount of time, the bigger you should be sizing in on your dip buys, in my opinion, unless there's horrible news, because the more likely it is to bounce back. When it dips from 24 to 20, all right, that's a decent dip. But if it dips in barely more time from 24 to 14, I got to size in a little bigger on those because there's more risk reward and I'm more likely to be right on those. So that's how you got to manage it, guys. Don't average down unless it's a very specific scenario. Always cut your losses if you can, and it's better, to buy back in. That's the main takeaway from this. Now, wow, I mean, this is already a long video, but let's dive into the next one real quick. So this one, TGGI, they had some filing. Apparently people didn't like it. I actually read the filing. I called out the filing as soon as they filed it. And it pretty much went sideways for a couple minutes after that filing came out. Until finally, it started dumping hard. And I didn't even really see it until like down here. Thankfully, I might have taken a loss on it otherwise. But I pretty much saw it right here. And this thing was a huge panic. And it went sideways. And there were a bunch of sellers. And then once that seller, like the big seller broke, it just had a huge bounce. I was long, I think 1.5 million shares from around 54, 55. And I sold them all. My best sell was like 71 or 72, somewhere in there. Just insane. And then it ended up more than doubling from my best sell, which made me like $1,800. So this one, in the back of my head, guys, I was thinking, all right, this is either gonna be like CATV, this chart, which bounced 700% in like an hour. And I'm thinking that's more likely what it's gonna be like. Or it's gonna be like INCC, which dumped, 75% and tried to bounce, got stuffed, and then just never bounced even the slightest bit. So for me, it's between one of those two charts, and I'm trying to decide which one it's gonna be like. Now, the fact that it goes sideways for so long is like, that's kind of sketchy. Honestly, that's kind of sketchy. But, I gave it a chance, and it ended up working out really, really well. So, I do want to go over that pretty quickly. Just so you can see, literally just the turning point on that one. So you can see this is where I first see it. Now, the way that I play this, I mean, it still looks heavy here at this point. But basically, the way I play this is I size into the dip. When it looks weak, I cut and I reevaluate. And I do that a couple of times over the course of this. So you can see, I'm sizing in and out here. It looks like it's trying to bounce. ends up not bouncing. You know, I got 550,000 shares, already realized negative 200, down unrealized negative 200. So if this cracks 50, you know, it could get ugly for me. But at the same time, I understand how much of a potential reward this trade has. And the liquidity on this is insane. That CATV, you know, this max traded like 10 million shares at the bottom. This thing is more expensive and is trading 40 million shares at the bottom. Absolutely insane. So this is the main turning point on this. And I just want to review that one more time. So when you watch this live, you're gonna see how like these bounces, they get stuffed by some heavy sellers. And you know, I end up buying into the bounces because I don't want to miss it. If it rips, you know, from 6 to 8 or something like that, I don't want to miss it. But at the same time, it gets stuffed hard, gets stuffed hard. So I end up cutting a lot of these trades. But the main thing comes when the seller has exhausted all of the shares that they're trying to get rid of. That's when the main pop happens on this stock. And you can watch this on the level 2 by like how it's washing out and then by how the bidders stack up. So you can see how that happens here. Again, you know, I bought at 56 on the ask. I mean, look at that. Huge seller at 54. Like 5 million seller. But you can see they buy it all in one whack. Another 5 million seller. Just huge selling pressure here. And I'm wondering, man, am I going to have to cut all this? And that's why I sold half there, because I had $1 million from 56. But I see these bids start to come in, and I'm like, wow, that's a big bid. It's starting to get big. I mean, it's actually not that big. It starts to stack though. There we go. Yeah. It starts to stack. You can see, you know, 5 million. It stacks all the way up to like 15 million. Got 10 million on the bid, only 10,000 quote unquote on the ask. Definitely a reserve seller. 29 million on the bid. And look at the gap. Look at the gap there. Straight from 54 all the way up to 59. Huge bids. So when I see this, I'm like, all right, man, it seems like there's some more buying pressure here. I should have bought more. I end up adding more, thankfully. I get filled a little bit more there. So you can see. But as soon as that goes, man, it just absolutely flies. We're already over 60. And I'm thinking, damn, I gotta lock some in just in case this fails, man. Because there was crazy selling pressure before, but it's crazy. It pretty much it was gone. As soon as it popped there, it was just gone. There was no more selling pressure. So I lock in a little bit more. I sell a third. I sell another third. Now I've realized 861 on this. It's still super strong though. Still super strong. I mean, this thing is still super strong. And there's gaps in the ask, man. I get a little scared by that and I sell, and then I immediately realize, dang, this thing's gonna hold. Holds at 70. Down ticks for a second. Immediately pops back up. Tons of volume there. And then just blows through 71, 72, straight up to 80. I should have rebought here when it failed to break down again. But, you know, I was a little sketched out and didn't want to buy a ton and then have it die on me. But this thing just ends up having the most beautiful bounce, man. And again, this is one that I'm going to review the level 2 on so I can be better about these types of bounces in the future. Look at these gaps, bro. Look at that. I mean, that's crazy. If you have 500,000 shares, that gap is like 300 bucks. That was like a 600th of a cent gap. Crazy, man. Crazy stuff. So, you know, again, if you need to, go back, watch. And again, if I had time, I probably should have showed you the entire attempted bounce so you could really see the selling pressure and how heavy it was. I'm definitely going to rewatch that. But it's super heavy. All these bounces get crushed. And then right there at the end, the bid stack. There's a huge gap in the ask. You know, we got 20 million on the bid. And it's just a beautiful thing. It ends up having a huge 200% bounce. Huge liquidity. I mean, I left over 10,000 on the table on this trade just with my original entry if I had just been more patient. So pretty freaking insane, but you know, still glad to have made a couple thousand on it. And yeah, that's it for that trade. So the last one is TSOI. And this one had breaking news today. I called this news out as soon as it happened. I made like 1,800 bucks in like a minute and a half when it came out. I know Moon, shout out to Moon. He made like 3,000 on it. Moon from our Discord. And you know, if you guys want to be aware of this news as soon as it comes out and you're not in the Discord yet, definitely check it out. Links in the description. But you can see here I bought 200,000 shares at 208 and I sold into this pop immediately. Had a nice wedge here. I was long 75,000 for this breakout, but I think I got spooked because they had like a 400,000 seller right here, so I ended up selling it all here. Ends up going higher, and I said, you know, this probably would be a good hold through close because it's first green day. It's got good news about a corona / cancer treatment patent, and the PR was pretty nice, and it was a fairly beaten down chart. So this thing wouldn't surprise me if it gaps up tomorrow, but you know, just some nice price action. Unfortunately, I didn't record level 2 as soon as it came out because I bought these shares in my other. I have another one of these screens like off where I'm recording on the screen, so I bought it on that one, unfortunately, so you can't see me buying the 200,000, but I pull it up quickly thereafter. So yeah, you can see. Yeah, you can see I don't pull it up until right here. So you can see I have 200,000 shares from 208. Like I said, I'm up 1,540 on this already, and I do sell some here, sell some on the ask, but this thing ends up going even farther. Again, I wish I had the level 2 from as soon as the PR came out to show you guys, but I don't. But yeah, this one is nice. Watching OWUV a little bit, they also had a PR, didn't do anything crazy. Right here, you can see starts wedging, you know, nice volume washout. I end up getting long, like I said, 75,000 shares for this breakout. I end up making, I don't know, like $200 or $300. And, you know, I end up getting spooked by this 500,000 seller, like I said. So I end up taking all those, and that's pretty much the extent of my good trades on TSOI. But just an amazing day full of action, and I definitely, you know, want to review these in the future. It was a little hard here. You know, I should have been picking up size on these dips and then selling them at pops. Instead, I got, you know, a little chopped up, a little scared. But, you know, again, the stronger OTCs get, the more I'm going to be aggressive about holding and not just scalping these types of plays. So, anyways, that is it, guys. Hopefully you found this helpful. Make sure to go and review that 6.5 hour live footage, man. It will be so helpful for you, I promise. And, yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, you know the drill. Let's grow better together. Bebé, dime por qué te mientes. No puedes esconder todo lo que tú por mí sientes.